I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
So, what do you think about what Timmy Tampon had to say? What do you think? For those of you who don't want me to talk about anything that you deem political, just talk about chickens, just talk about homesteading. You are completely not understanding the point here. People like that are going to make it their mission in life to stop you from being self-sufficient and do what you need to do. They don't want you to eat what you want to eat. They don't. Harris, we're going to curtail meat consumption. Now, see, that's kind of hard because a lot of people, gosh, what is that sailing around? A lot of people, that's what they eat for their health, right? People like that are going to do all they can to take away your right to do what you want on your own property. Private property rights are under attack, people. They are under attack. I don't think you can truly have private property rights as long as you have eminent domain, be the law of the land. Meaning government can take whatever the heck they want from you, and they don't have to compensate you for it. Oh, it says the rules say they do, but just ask the family in Pigeon Forge who haven't gotten one thin dime. People like Walls are dangerous. They're dangerous to our republic, not our democracy. We do not have a democracy. I just stopped talking about your democracy, our democracy. We don't live in a democracy. Democracy is mob rule, plain and simple. The left want that. That's why they keep saying the word over and over. Because they're the mob. The mob always wants mob rule, don't they? The reason we have the Electoral College in the first place is so that California and New York aren't the only ones electing the president or anything else. If you actually went by popular vote, which is basically the Democratic vote, you see who would often win. And do you know why? It's because California and New York have the numbers. They have the huge populations. It's not because they're right. They're rarely right about anything. It's because they have the numbers. And you don't get any representation if you live in Kansas or Georgia or Montana. You don't get any representation under democracy. What Walls just said, and now let me tell you the context of that clip. That clip came out of a video where they were talking about mail-in ballots and how people were spreading misinformation about the validity of mail-in ballots and such. Oh, he wishes we were spreading misinformation. He wishes. But that was the context. But really, in this particular case, what he said, the context is not as important, honestly. Because what he said applies to everything. That is the antithesis of what our Constitution puts forth. And that's the absolute opposite. So, he said, we've got to control misinformation and hate speech. Freedom of speech doesn't extend to those things. Yes, it does. Because who decides what's correct information? The government. Who decides what's hateful? The government. If you say Biden's a moron, that's hate speech. Think about the ramifications of what happens under what Mr. Walls just said. Mr. Stolen Valor himself, Mr. Lying Ass. Think about the ramifications of what he just said. What's the next thing to be deemed misinformation? Because you know he's the one that wants to be in charge of what that is. And he's the one who wants to say what hate speech is. Hate speech is this nebulous concept. If you say, you're wrong, that's hate speech. Because you just hurt somebody's feelings. The definition of hate speech can't be that we hurt somebody's feelings. You need to toughen up if that's the problem. I don't care what they called you, what they said about you. I've been lied about so many times I can't even count now. And this didn't start just when I started on YouTube. It sure did continue though. Harassment and false tales about me. They want to say what they want. If people want to believe that, knowing what they know about these other people and knowing what they know about me, then that's their problem. They're believing the wrong person. Misinformation and hate speech. What the government is saying is they want to decide what those things are. And the next thing, okay, what about the Holy Scriptures? What about the Bible? They could claim misinformation. They could claim hate speech. From that one holy book, they could claim both of those things, if they were so inclined. That then infringes not only freedom of speech, but then you get into freedom of religion. And we're not even going to talk about his stolen valor, how he said something, nobody should have an AR-15, when civilian-made AR-15s aren't exactly the choice in the military. That's not an assault weapon. I do a lot of these quotations anymore because you can't take these people seriously. But you need to take their implications very seriously. So, the next thing they're going to do, they're portraying Harris as she's going to close the border. She opened it. She's going to protect the 2A. She wants to confiscate your weapons. She said so. She said she was going to use executive order to do that. She's going to use red flag laws where anybody can accuse you of anything, and they call you unbalanced, and they take your weapons, they take your rights. I feel like I'm shouting. Am I shouting? I'm so incensed over this lowlife. When you have an anti-Semitic, lying creature with the morals and the brain cells of a gnat, and you pair her with this lying, misrepresenting Marxist, this plant from China. Remember, he's been there 30 times, and he was a civilian, I guess. Why are you in China, Communist China, that many times? Even the presidents of the United States have not done that. It begs, it's something you should be thinking about. What he just said in that short clip, what was it, 8 seconds or something, maybe less than that, was extremely damning and extremely revealing. The only way that we keep our First Amendment rights is to exercise our Second Amendment rights. You see what happens in the UK? You see what is happening now in the UK? They're arresting people for inaccurate information on social media. All this started, according to Braden of Langley Outdoors, was when a teenager over there, a 17-year-old, took a knife and went into a dance school and killed 3 children. I don't know what the woman said that they're saying is inaccurate information, but she got arrested for that. Arrested. This is what happens in Australia, in the UK, when they take your weapons. They don't have the rights codified like we do. Folks, what I have to say, even though I am a frugal living, homesteading, chicken management, whatever you want to call me, I've been a lot of things on this channel. Whatever you want to call me, the government has been trying to shut down self-sufficiency for a long time. Okay, what if you make a statement that homegrown vegetables are healthier than commercially grown ones? Are they going to deem that misinformation and come arrest you for saying so? You think that's silly? These people are off their rockers. They are out of their gourds. Kamala Harris, she's a few sandwiches short of a picnic. a floor or two short of the penthouse. She's not even sure which way that is. Up, down, where? Do you even see what's going on here? Do you know how she selected this guy? Did she? Or did Obama? I don't know who selected this guy for her. Well, first of all, she can't have Shapiro, who is a Jew, and she's very anti-Semitic. I don't care what her husband claims to be. You know, in Utah, when I lived in Utah, and I know a lot about Mormonism, there were the Mormons that were born into that religion, and yet they didn't really know anything about it, and they didn't practice it. They really didn't know it. They don't. From having conversation with them, they don't really even know what they teach. They call themselves. They're called by. I mean, they may not call themselves that, but other people call them Jack Mormons. I don't know about her husband. Maybe he's a non-practicing Jew, but the man obviously is missing a few hormones of his own sex. I mean, I heard him speak and I thought, you doofus, you're talking about toxic masculinity? Oh my gosh, have you been henpecked? I don't know what he's like, except that I don't like him. And his wife, I don't know how she got him, honestly, but she could have him. So when I talk about things on this channel, which never started out to be a political commentator type thing, it never was supposed to be that. But I've been horrified for years about the government increasing controls over our everyday lives, including when they tried to get the NAIS passed, the National Animal Identification System. And this is not for commercial people. This is for backyard people. This is for people who have a goat and some chickens in their backyard. They wanted to institute a tagging system and have you register your property. Your premise is what they call it. You had to register, and you have to tell them every time an animal leaves your place, every time one comes here. It was insane. It was complete government overreach. And they tried to get it instituted. Now, they partially instituted in Wisconsin, and I think maybe Minnesota. They tend to get the leftist stuff in place really quickly. I can't remember. I know it was Wisconsin. I can't remember the other state, but most likely it was Minnesota or Michigan. It is none of the government's business what is in my barnyard, how many chickens I have, how old they are, how many eggs they lay. If somebody buys a set of hatching eggs from me or buys a chick that I'm trying to sell, it's none of their business. I have perfectly healthy birds, and the thing is, they'll say it's about health. They say it's about health and protecting the food supply, which was actually the purpose of the NPIP program, National Poultry Improvement Program, which is a government program where they come and test your birds once a year, more if you want to test for other things besides the couple of big diseases that are pretty much eradicated in this country, or were. There are a lot of diseases that were eradicated in this country, and they're not anymore because of the influx from the southern border. They've been trying for years to institute this stuff. It was a big thing. I got the local paper to write a story on it, but they didn't take me seriously. They didn't take it seriously. They didn't see the implications of this. Every time they tell you who they are, you need to listen. And Tim Walz has repeatedly told you who he is. Weapons of war he carried in war. Well, he didn't. AR-15 is not a weapon of war. This is why do you need a gun with all these rounds? Well, what if the grid goes down? There's no cops, which are kind of useless anyway. They come clean up after the fact. What happens if you have a mob of people want to overrun your property? You need to be able to shoot more than a shotgun at them. I mean, seriously. All I know, the leftists say, you should stand aside and let them have what they want. Not on your life, sweet cheeks, not at all, no. In fact, I would suggest, if you don't shoot very well, if you haven't practiced in a while, I would suggest you find a local gun range and go do some practice. That's my plan. I already know where one is. I don't have to find one. I know where it is. I know where it is. That's my plan for, I plan to go to the range as soon as the weather cools off and I can stand outside without dying of heat stroke. But if you don't, you need to shore up your skills. You need to sock away food. And 3 months of food is nothing. A year of food is probably nothing. If these people get into power, by hook or crook, we may all be cut off from resources. We have to develop our own resources. This is what this is about. This is what self-sufficiency and homesteading is about. Developing your own resources. Oh, I can't have a garden. I can't afford to buy a tiller. Yeah, I don't need a tiller. Look up Charles Dowding's no-till method. Works beautifully. There's an Amish farm in Tennessee, old order Amish, that they do everything in a regenerative manner. They have bigger yields, fewer pests. They don't use poisons. They don't use any of that stuff. They don't till anything. They started out that way when they first started, but they decided that it was not helping. And they didn't want to put poisons into the soil. So there's the standard tilling, which requires gasoline. You can't till with an electric tiller. It's too far away generally. You don't need the big expensive equipment. Take your cardboard boxes from Walmart and Amazon, the ones that don't have a lot of tape and writing on them, break them down, lay them out on the ground. If you want to kill something underneath and prepare the ground, lay them out. Put rocks on top of them. Lay out cardboard all over the place in your garden area, your designated garden area. Let it break down. I'm guaranteeing you're going to have some beautiful black soil under there. Use compost. If you can get compost from somebody with a chicken coop, say, can I have your chicken litter for a while? Can you just put it in a bucket? Let me have it. Take it. You can't put it on a freshly planted garden. It will burn the roots because it's hot manure. Rabbits are cool manure. If you want something that you can immediately add to fertilize your garden, get some rabbits. Collect their poop in a tray under the cage, okay? But you've got to do this because people like this Waltz character and like Kamala Harris, who haven't lived in the real world and lie about everything they have done, they want to take everything from you. And this is not hyperbole. I don't know what's going to happen, but I tell you what, I'm not letting the tide push me along and give up all my control of my family and my property. And you best decide how you're going to fight for that. Now, oh my gosh, there's that trigger word, fight. Fight doesn't necessarily mean punch somebody in the face. Come on, y'all. Leftists are so overly dramatic. And unfortunately, they were all born without a sense of humor. You can't even joke with these people. They get all up in arms over everything. I have some family members who voted Democrat. I don't consider that a very intelligent choice. If you can't see what's right in front of your face, you're blind, deaf, and dumb. And I mean, now they talk a lot. They're not dumb, meaning you don't speak, but they talk a lot, but they don't say anything. Except, well, I don't even want to tell you what they say. So you know people who are not really playing with a full deck. You know people. Somebody said, dunderheads. These two dunderheads they put up on this ticket. They can still take her off. They haven't had the convention yet. She just got installed up there, just like Joe Biden was installed 4 years ago. She got installed. The people were angry. Even some of the BLM people were saying, that's not right. We didn't have a choice. Yeah, well, we were all saying that when you were burning down cities and the government, especially Tim Walz and his state, didn't do anything about it. And they said it was their right to burn down your business. We are living in some dangerous times, y'all. And I'm scared for our military because they have people like Tim Walz in it. Well, he was in the Guard. I'm not dissing the Guard. The Guard has a different function overall than the regular military does. But he took 20-something years of training they gave him, and then he threw it back in their face and walked out. And letting his brothers in arms, who I wouldn't consider his brothers, since they actually did the duty that they signed up for, and he didn't. Let them go into combat without him. And he was up in rank too. I think once they said he got demoted, but don't quote me on that. I don't know. The man is very distasteful. I don't like listening to him. I don't like his face. I don't like anything. He's just smarmy. That's a good word, smarmy. And he doesn't care about the Constitution. He's anti-Constitution. He's anti-Christian. He's anti-conservative. He's anti-everything that this country stands for. How in the heck do these people get into office? Thank God 2 of the squad members are gone now. And I hope Tlaib and AOC follow them. They need to go too. The people are speaking with their votes. So don't push aside your responsibility to vote this November. Please don't push that aside. Does your vote count? Sure. Do we know how much it counts? We don't know. But why would you just give it over to the other side? If you don't vote, you're just going to give it to them. And then your life is going to continue like the last 4 years, where you couldn't buy groceries, you couldn't buy gasoline. So that's all I have to say about that. I stand by my statement that this duo of Harris and Walzer is one of the most dastardly, dangerous duos that we have ever seen on a ticket in this country. Don't let them win. Okay, I'm going to say something at the end. This has nothing to do with what I just said. Those of you lovely people who are praying people, my son's girlfriend is very ill. She went to the hospital. She has a lot of health issues. She's got heart issues. She has lupus. She has a lot of, I don't want to go through all her medical stuff. She has a lot of issues, a lot of diseases. Her body's shutting down. She's only in her early 40s. Only in her early 40s, or mid 40s, I guess. And we like her. We actually like her. Unlike the wife that he had, but for 19 years, but we do like her. And she's having a hard time, and therefore he's having a hard time. My husband just went off today to go and help him because she went to a doctor's appointment. Their pulmonologist. Her heart is failing, and they rushed her into the ER. They don't know. It was a blood clot fluid in her lungs. My son is beside himself. So please think some good thoughts for her. Her name is Shell. That's not her full name, but that's what she goes by, Shell. And she's a lovely lady. She adores my son, and he adores her. So please think some good thoughts for Shell. I hope that we have a lot of time and enjoy the fall with her and whatever. But yeah, think some good thoughts for Shell, please, because she's in some trouble here. Anyway, God bless you, my wonderful subscribers. You know, it's interesting how they have, I keep having new subscriber, and yet my subscriber count doesn't move. How does that happen? How does 1 + 1 = 0? That's kind of what happens. 1 + 1 + 5 + 50 = 0. It's the way it's been going for years now here on this channel. But see, I said the wrong things. And see, that's what happens when you have people like Tim Walz and his ilk running things like Google. BlackRock owns most of Google. You know this, right? You know, the one Thomas Crooks did the would-be assassin for President Trump, did a BlackRock commercial. BlackRock is the biggest investor, aside the people who created Google, in this platform. Now, you wonder why it's getting censored all the time? That's why. That's what we're up against. So, don't quit because your garden didn't work this year. We have bad years, we have good years. The good years, if you have a dearth of produce and you can it and preserve it and dry it or whatever you do with it, that is going to sustain you for several bad years, non-productive years. So, oh, Sean, Green Thumb Prepper up there in Canada, he had beets. He finally got a good beet crop this year. He had beets as big as this. I can't eat, I love beets, but I can't eat them anymore because they're too high in sugar. But had a huge beet. See, the crops, he said he's never had a good crop before. The rats and the critters always eat them. He said it's like you get an apple and you eat it around the center. And he said all of his beets always look like that when you pull them out of the ground. He's getting a lot of beautiful beets. So there's a prime example of how you can't just quit because it didn't work 1 year or maybe it didn't work 2 years. Keep going. Whatever you're growing, keep going. That's all you can do. And there's a beautiful song. It's called Stand Your Ground. I think there's a thing I saw it by Freedom Soul. I think Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers did it, but I don't like Tom Petty. I don't like his voice. But it says stand your ground. Don't back down. I know what's right. You can stand me up the gates of hell and I won't back down. That's the attitude you need to have. That's what you need to do. You need to have that attitude. I won't back down. I'm going to stand my ground and you can't make me do things I know that are not right. So, God bless you. Have a good upcoming week. And I think we're in for a cool down. Thank goodness we're in for a cool down. It's been hellacious. Bye, y'all.